We've got a line reference question, which tells us exactly where to look. And this is a pretty straightforward process of elimination question. This is a very textbook example of a reading question. If you can do this process here and then replicate it on the harder questions, you're going to be in good shape for the reading. So let's look at how I would look at this. So first and foremost, we've got a line reference about the 6th paragraph. We might read the sentence before and after just to make sure we understand the context of that paragraph. But what's the main purpose? So let's see if we can dumb it down as we're reading it. So it starts here. Most importantly, could the same fiber convey a pleasant sensation? So they're asking some sort of question. Now we get into the paragraph. To address the question, okay, that seems important, Olison's group sought out a patient known as GL, okay, who had an unusual nerve defect. So they're trying to answer a question by finding this unusual person, GL. More than 2 decades earlier, she had developed numbness across many parts of her body after taking penicillin to treat a cough and fever. Testing showed that she had lost responsiveness to pressure, and a nerve biopsy confirmed that GL's quick-conducting fibers were gone, resulting in an inability to sense any pokes, prods, or pinpricks below her nose. But she could still sense warmth, suggesting that her slow-conducting, unmyelinated fibers were intact. Notice that I did not underline a single word in that other piece. It's all washing over me. I get it. It's helpful. It explains some of the science, but I'm not interested in learning the science. I'm interested in why is this paragraph important, and everything I just read reinforces what I learned in that first sentence. That they're trying to answer some question, and GL is unusual, and that's why they're going to her. Everything else is just more evidence of that same point. And that's why a good writer uses topic sentences in their paragraphs to kind of set up what they're going to talk about. Everything in a paragraph should kind of be in service of the initial point. This is just textbook good writing here. So, yeah, I might need to dive into some of this other stuff later, but right now I understand what's going on. She's unusual, and they're studying her to answer some question. So let's look at the choices now. What matches with that? The purpose is to identify those of GL's neurological conditions that might be relieved by the experiment. No. Let's look at each word individually here. They're certainly identifying her neurological conditions. They're telling us lots of different things about her. True. But they're not trying to fix her. I mean, no offense here, but GL seems kind of doomed, and so they're not trying to fix her. They're just trying to understand her. So relieved is the wrong word. So maybe this is a good example of 90% of this choice is right. They're definitely listing neurological conditions. But 10% is wrong. They're not relieving her. They're not fixing her. And that 10% is way more important than the 90%. And if you're just going through the passages, that 90% is going to just stand out to you. But if you use process of elimination the way I'm using it here, you're training your brain to notice the 10% that's wrong. That's much more important. So let's try that on the other choices too. Contextualize the nerve function of GL by comparing it with that of other adults. Well, the first part of this I don't really understand. What does it mean to contextualize her nerve function? I don't know, but they're not talking about other adults. They're talking about GL. This whole paragraph is GL, GL, GL. So wrong. 10% right there. Detail procedures that GL had experienced during previous experiments. Well, no, they don't talk about previous experiments. They also don't talk about different procedures, I guess. I mean, maybe there's a biopsy and things like that, but this isn't about that. It's not about knowing what happened to her in the past. It's about explaining kind of like what it is that makes her unusual. So there's maybe a lot more that's wrong with this choice, but even still, it's not about the previous experiment, it's about this current one. And so that leaves us with D, which hopefully is right. We wouldn't want to just pick it. Part of process of elimination is being fair to all the choices and making sure we apply the same process to all of them. So let's look at D. Indicate why GL's medical condition was of value to Olison's experiment. Well, one thing that we can do sometimes with choices if we want to test them is we can turn them into questions. So let's turn this into a question. Why was GL's medical condition of value to Olison's experiment? Can I answer that question? If I can, that checks out a lot of words there. So why was her medical condition of value? Because she was unusual. Because she would help them answer a question. That's it. So process of elimination is a two-step thing. We are trying as much as we can to prove the wrong answers wrong. because there's always a reason, and we just need to be able to train our brains to find that 10% reason that makes them wrong. But as much as possible, we'd also love to prove our right answer right. And one way we can do both of those things is to start asking questions about the choice. A lot of times we just turn it into smaller questions about smaller words, right? Was she being fixed? Was she being relieved? Were they comparing her to other adults, right? Those are other questions that we could have asked about choices A and B. All of this is just to get your brain to notice things that it otherwise wouldn't notice, the kind of stuff the SAT is hoping slips by you. And that's frustrating because sometimes you can get the right answer without doing this whole elaborate thing. But on the hard ones, you kind of need to. And so we need to treat every question like it's hard because we never really know if we're dealing with a hard question. We sometimes pick answers very confidently. A lot of people pick A here, confident that it's right. But when they get their scores back, they see that it's wrong, and they never suspected it in the moment. So process of elimination makes us question our confidence and forces us to say, I don't know. The instincts tell me one thing, but I need to prove my instincts correct. That's important for the hard questions. So get in the habit of doing it, and eventually it won't take that long because it'll just become what you do. It'll be a habit. It'll be fast. You won't even have to think about it, and that's how you get your score to improve.